Okay, so we'll get started. Um, Morning, everyone. I think it's morning for everyone. Not quite sure. Yeah, Vajra Devi here. Yeah, so I thought I might be tempted to do something from that I'm learning from Dhamarati's retreat on Anapanasati, but the retreat is still in progress, and some of you are there, which is very nice. A couple of you are there. I'm still digesting that. But I really recommend it. It's another way into mindfulness, and actually, the receptivity of the approach is quite similar to what we do in this kind of practice, this style. Anyway, something else came to mind, and that was a little quote by Joseph Goldstein that I'd unpack. So. Um, he wrote a book, a little bit like Banti. He wrote a book in his maybe mid-20s called The Experience of Insight. And I think I've recommended this book before on a retreat. Anyway, recommend it now. So he was quite young. He's now over 80. But one of the things he talks about is how we can be quite timid in practice. This is an interesting word, timid in practice. And he makes the point, he says there's no way of being mindfully wrong. We don't have to think in terms of getting it right, or I'm getting it wrong. So yeah, think about this. Think about, do you relate to this? Do you notice thoughts around wanting to get it right in practice? That there's a set of rules to follow. Obviously, not quite as explicit as that, but we can have those implicit kind of thoughts in the back of the mind, or the feeling of doubt is another way. And we might find that we want to sort of be reassured, or to reassure ourselves, or am I doing it? Am I doing it right? Am I getting it right? And this is natural to a certain extent. These thoughts and feelings are just natural. Um, but it can be helpful to recognize, oh, the mind is a little bit nervous about getting it wrong, or wants to get it right, just as a tendency in the mind, not something to judge ourselves for. But timid is quite a nice word for it as well. I think it brings in something a little bit different, and just helpful to recognize the kinds of thoughts that go along with any particular mind state. So this isn't to say that information, right information, isn't really, really helpful and necessary. We need to, whatever practice we're doing, we need to learn the principles, have some information about what we're aiming to do, the principles of the practice, um, some information about what to do under certain circumstances. Okay, so when there's sleepiness in the mind, just for example, um, in this practice, we don't automatically go to active strategies to try and waken up the mind. But the principle is to be interested in what's happening, whatever is happening, even if that means that we're nodding a bit in practice. Can we be aware, or take awareness into those moments, learn something about the mind in that particular state? And that interest in itself is often enough to bring some change, or to wake up the mind in some way. So information is really, really helpful. Um, we're learning and training the mind in bringing right view and awareness into working together in the mind. But we also need to, if we want to learn more about mindfulness and wisdom, we need to apply it ourselves in our own minds and in our own practices. We extend our learning through this. Um, Joseph Goldstein uses a word. He says we probe deeply into the mind. with mindfulness. Use mindfulness to look at what's happening in the heart and mind. Um, and he says we probe in a fearless kind of way. So that goes against the mindset that there's often a little bit of nervousness or fear if we have that attitude that we're nervous about making mistakes or getting it wrong. So he says fearlessly experiment, and we want to explore how to be aware. Maybe we really looking into how the mind can be more continuously aware, or how we can watch the mind while we're going through our daily activities, while we're cooking or whatever it is. We can take activities as ways of learning a bit more about practice. We can remember what helped as well. So it's easy to not quite take it on. Oh, something really um, helped in this particular situation, whether it was sleepiness, whether it was being in a real old state about something. Um, remember how we've been there before in practice and what um, supported awareness, being able to sort of stay, and wisdom, being able to see through clearly. I think I've said this before as well, but for years in my own practice, I go from being in these painful states of identification, usually identifying something about me as wrong or bad, so giving myself a hard time, but really quite caught in it. I'm like this was the sort of implicit mind state. And then something would shift. I'd keep practicing, I'd keep being aware, something would shift, and that identification would dissolve, it would fall away. Um, it was like magic. It was like this magic. So it was, yeah, and it was great. But I could not work out how it had happened. It was like I didn't have any control over it. This switch from being really identified with something to that release from it. Um, but I kept watching and I kept being curious about the conditions that led to a shift. And we can do that. We can be curious about what leads to something changing, but also what leads to it not changing, to it increasing or intensifying. We can't learn, as we know, we can't learn without sometimes making mistakes, without it going the wrong way. Um, if I had a pound for all the times that I've tried to work with tension and relaxation in awareness and ended up getting more tense, honestly, I think I would be a millionaire. Uh, yeah, not so much these days, thankfully. Um, but we learn through coming up close with our experience and being curious about it. So look closely, but stay relaxed. We don't want to drill into the mind. We want to keep the emphasis with the quality of awareness, which is relaxed, which is open, which is interested, um, and actually willing to be a bit playful with this kind of territory. It's not all sort of terribly serious. What we're doing, we're there can this keeping it playful allows the element of sort of fascination to come out. Oh, this is really, I just don't know what's happening here, but I'm really interested in it. And remembering that whatever happens, you might think I'm just cultivating a worse mental state here. Um, and again, sometimes it may look like that, or you may go a bit further down that route. It's in the privacy of your own mind. Um, And as I say, making mistakes, it isn't sort of free, if you like. It's in one way it is free, but another way there can be a cost. And we have to think in the long term that overall, we're because of this willingness to experiment and not be timid, then we're learning more about the mind, about what makes a difference in practice. Be bold. Okay, so let's leave it there. If you'd like to set up for meditation.